Hey everybody, Randy Patterson here with Boomerocity. Boomerocity has been in existence for almost 15 years now. And about 10 years ago, right after I relocated from Texas to Tennessee, I was invited to attend a show. I'll call it a concert now, but back then it was a show by a group called Jacket Symphony. And basically what they were doing was performing the Led Zeppelin 4 album in chronological order of the original record from beginning to end. Then they would do an intermission, and then the second half of the show was Led Zeppelin's greatest hits. And I thought, there's no way they're going to nail this. I walked away a fan of Jacket Symphony, and I've been following ever since. I've seen somewhere around 12, 14 shows. They've done everything from Zeppelin to Fleetwood Mac to Journey to Eagles, AC/DC, all sorts of Saturday Night Fever. I mean, they've done a ton of different albums that us baby boomers grew up with and that make up a huge portion of the soundtrack of our youth. And Jacket Symphony really does an amazing job. And they, in those days when I first started following them, they just performed here in the Deep South. They were headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama. So I got to see them in Knoxville, Tennessee. Now, for my friends and viewers and followers out west, they are now touring in places like Phoenix and Tucson, my old stomping ground, as well as on out to like El Cajon, California, and all over. So my friends out west, you're going to get to see this band. And if they're coming near you, and you'll see at the end of the interview how you can find out where they're going to be and when, I would encourage you to buy that ticket and go see them. And when you do, you'll want to catch every show after that because they are phenomenal. Just to give you an idea, I've seen their performance of Journey's Escape album 3 or 4 times in the almost 10 years I've been following them. And this last time I saw them, I hate to admit it because I love Journey, they give Journey a run for their money on their own songs. And I'm not exaggerating on that. So anyway, fast forward, after this last time I saw him in Chattanooga performing Journey, I wanted to talk to the founder of Jacket Symphony, who is Jay Willoughby. And we finally got the link up, and we have a fun talk. And we get to hear the history of Jacket Symphony, what they've been doing, what they hear from fans and artists alike, and where all they're going and what they hope to accomplish in the future. So without any further ado, here's my first interview with Jacket Symphony's Jay Willoughby. And if you would you just please hit like and then subscribe to whatever you're watching or listening to this on, and then share it with your friends and ask them to do the same. It won't cost you a dime. So take care, and we'll see you next time. Hey, it's a pleasure to finally meet you. You won't remember this, but one of the first shows I ever covered for you guys, you were playing at the Bijou in downtown Knoxville.
Yeah.
And I got to go backstage. I met you and some of the other band. And I think I just interviewed Damon Johnson for the first or second or third time. And I know there was that tie between you guys there. And we were back there in that real small backstage area of the Bijou. We were all crowded in there. So, but
was Damon at the Bijou?
No, he wasn't with you guys, but I knew there was a tie between you guys, and I had mentioned it somehow. I can't remember. That's been almost 10 years ago. So.
Damon was only really involved for the first couple of shows. Then he got with Alice Cooper and everybody else, and he just didn't have the time to put into it. Yeah.
So, well, Matt, thank you for this. I've been wanting to talk to you for a long time because, as I said in my note to you guys, it's been almost 10 years since I first found out about you. I just moved to Tennessee a few months before. I was born here, but lived away, and a divorce brought me back here. And saw you guys at the Bijou and fell in love with what you guys are doing, and have caught, I don't know, 12 or 13 shows over the years, and just been really enamored with what you guys are doing. You were phenomenal then, but my golly, I saw the Journey show in Chattanooga a couple weeks ago, and
he's phenomenal.
Oh my gosh! And Queen before that. I mean, you guys have really stepped up. I mean, you were great 10 years ago, but you're blowing my mind now. But
Oh, well, thanks. You know, with some success, we end up being able to success breeds success, I guess you call it.
Yeah.
We can get more people that we want to get in and stuff like that. So it's been great. It's been a lot. Yeah.
I bet, but a lot of work. It
Yeah.
shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, before we get too far down the road talking about how you guys are doing things, tell people who, and I believe it or not, I get a lot of viewers and a lot of followers from Phoenix because, or Arizona in general, because that's where I grew up, went to high school and all that. So I get a lot of viewers there. So I know you guys are touring out that way later this year. Tell people all about Black Jacket Symphony, how you guys started, what you're all about. I know the story, but tell it from your mouth what it's all about.
You know, it was an idea I had, and sometimes you mentioned a divorce. I had a small kid at the time, and I'd lost a job. I've been a musician all my life, songwriter in Nashville and EMI, signed to EMI Publishing, signed to Capitol Records for a minute, which is a tough go, but did well with it. But I got into radio as a backup plan after I got married and stuff. Then I lost a radio job, so I had to come up with something. Sometimes the best ideas come out of, you know, desperation.
That's right.
And you know, I think I had little things kind of all come together for an idea, you know. So there's lots of little things that happen to make it happen. I think I'd seen a tribute band. I know I'd seen a tribute band, and it was a Beatles tribute band, and I'm a big Beatle fan. So, and they were great, but it always reminded, I don't know if you can use this, but it reminded me of, you know, the once or the two or three times I've ever been to a strip club in my life. They're great, like right at first, then you just start feeling like, you know. And there's this thing with the tribute band. At first, they're like, yeah, but then they're like speaking in between songs in a Liverpool accent when I know they're from Ohio. You know, what are you talking like this for? Because you're Bill from Ohio. So it just seemed a little weird. So, and then I heard like an advertisement on the radio for a Pops in the Park thing. They were going to do a Mozart piece or something, and like a little light bulb came up. Said, you know, when a symphony comes out and does a Mozart piece, they don't dress up like Mozart and speak in between songs in some weird Austrian accent, even though they're from Tennessee or whatever they're from. Right. They just play the piece. Note for note, and you know, and you don't, you know, and so it was just kind of a, you know, and it was also at the time, for the perfect storm, it was the 40 years, 2009, it's the 40-year anniversary of Abbey Road being released.
Wow!
And so there's lots of press about it, and you know how the record stands up to this day, and it just all kind of came to me that these albums that were released 60s, 70s, some of the 80s, till the CD thing kind of started bringing it down, and now streaming, you know, it's over. The album rock, that those were pieces of art to be listened to in their entirety, in a whole, because you had to. You know, back in the day, you had to put a needle on, and it was out of just being a pain to lift the needle and skip a song. You know, they made albums to be listened to as a whole because that's what you had to do. You know. So, you know, these albums tell a story. And so that's how it started. And first one was Abbey Road, and we've gone from there, doing over like 40 some odd different albums now.
I want to get back to that, but so how would you categorize BJS? Would you call yourself a tribute band or cover band? Or
I don't like either one of the terms, because
I don't either.
If somebody refers, like I just said, to a symphony, you know, they don't consider them a cover band, but they play they cover Mozart, you know, but nobody says, well, that's just a cover band. So I wanted to approach it like they would. You can call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And is it a tribute band? Well, it's a tribute to an album, but we're not dressing up like the artist, trying to pretend to be them in any way. If it, you know, for us to do Abbey Road, it takes us 8 or 9 people. You know, we're not just doing the 4 guys up there in Liverpool accents. For us to do You know what I mean? Whatever it takes for us to pull off an album in a live setting, an organic live setting, that's what we will do.
Cool. Well, one thing, and this goes back to my beginning comments with you, Jay, that, I mean, when I first saw you guys, like I said, you guys were great then. And then, like, post-pandemic, it seems like, I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden now, it's even infinitely better. And I didn't think it could be. I mean, and again, I'll point to the Queen performance. I forget the gentleman's name who you had doing the Freddie Mercury stuff. Boy, I mean, but I'll even say this, taking that Journey Escape performance at the same venue. I mean, if I was going to pick between the two, I'd point to the Journey one, because the vocalist there was, oh my God, I think he could give Steve Perry or Arnell a run for their money. He was that good. And of course the guitarist was all over Neil Schon, right? So how you guys are getting this talent pulled in? How are you pulling that off? Because I mean, you're in Birmingham.
Like I guess that well, you know, Birmingham's kind of an underrated, and don't tell anybody, but there's always been a big music scene here. It's just never been, you know, that known. Yeah. After living in Nashville and writing with all these heavy hitters, I remember thinking then that, you know, these guys that have these hits, they're not better songwriters than some of the guys I know from home.
Right. Right.
So, and players are from, you know, we get a lot of players from here, but we also get people from Nashville, from Atlanta, from South Carolina, from, you know, Las Vegas. I mean, we get people from everywhere. And I guess, like I said, this has been successful, and I think it's really a cool thing. And you find people who the reason they picked up their instrument or became a singer or whatever is because of a particular band. Mm-hmm. You know, and if you can find them who have that love, and that's what they emulated and listen to, that's in their subconscious, then if you hire them, then it's gonna be okay. Mm-hmm. You know, it's gonna work out. So I think pandemic kind of everything stopped. So we really wanted to come out, you know, flying high and really put them together. We had more time to sit down and really think about what we're going to do, what albums we're going to do, and what you know, who we're going to get to be on it. Right. And you know, nobody was making any money. Musicians wanted to come out and work, so with that you know, sad way, that helped us as well. Just, you know, coming out of the pandemic. So
yeah. Well, I have a good friend of mine, Dave Lowry, who has a Pat Benatar tribute band, and you know, in talking with him recently, he was going into just to find the level of expertise. Yeah. And we're talking musicians, so no offense, but we know that sometimes musicians that aren't well known aren't always the most dependable, you know. And so, and you must be present to win in this business. So he was telling me some of the trials and tribulations he had putting his tribute band together, and it's a very good Benatar tribute. But so having that's the reason why I asked you the question I did. I know, you know, it's just a short hop, skip, and jump from Nashville, so it makes sense to me that you would get some good musicians there. But I'm finding, are you finding that there seems to be more, because of, you know, all the greats beginning to retire, get sick? You know, we hear today about Mick Jones, you know, coming out with the news that he has Parkinson's, you know, same year that they finally get nominated to possibly go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Jokes.
That's true.
They talk about losing credibility, that place has, but but you know, now do you feel like because these people are dying or getting ill, retiring?
I hate to think of that, but yeah, you're right. I mean, we work up albums, and then, you know, somebody passes away. It's like, oh God. And it's weird because we want to pay tribute to them by doing it, but also it just feels, you know, but people want to see it, and it is nice legacy, you know, let's remember. So, you know, we worked up Tom Petty before, you know, he passed away. But when he passed away, we did a show, and then waited a little bit, and then did a tour with it. Yeah. As well.
Well, I mean, I can be a witness, so can thousands of other fans, that you guys were doing these people and these albums before people started dropping off. Like, Christine McVie, and the
Same with
others. So
Same with Prince.
yeah,
Basically, everybody almost. I don't think we've ever. I'm trying to remember. I don't think we've ever worked up an album because somebody passed. I know we haven't. It's because somebody passed away. But this is in our arsenal anyway. So
right. Well, so I, for one, you've heard my accolades. So I have a two-part question. What's the kind of feedback you're getting from fans that show up to your shows? And again, the Bijou here in Knoxville, I think it's a 600-seat auditorium. Now when you come to Knoxville, you're doing, well, you went from there to the Tennessee, which is 1,600 seats, and now you're doing the Civic Auditorium, which is, I think, 3,000 seats. So, same way with Soldiers and Sailors. You went from, Walker Theater to Tivoli to Soldiers and Sailors, and you're doing a dang good job of selling a big chunk, if not the whole thing out. So I know the fans are stepping up. So I'd like to hear what you're hearing from fans. And also, I'm curious if you've ever heard from any of the artists who you are paying tribute to.
The fan wise, we get a lot of, what's been really nice for me is to see parents bring their kids. So and always it's different with whatever album we're doing. Beatles, Zeppelin seems to bring out a lot of young kids for some reason. I say this in a lot of the radio interviews and stuff. It's something that I think the second interview I did promoting Black Jacket, the second show we were ever doing, it just came out. I said, every generation says their music's better than the last. We just happen to be correct.
You're right.
It really is true. My daughter, who's now 20, just turned 20, she knows it. She knows it. She's a classic rock fan. She tries to keep up with the new stuff just so she can talk to her friends or whatever, but she knows. And so we did Abbey Road. I remember a lady came in saying, my kids would never get to see the Beatles. This is as close as we're going to get. And we really appreciate it. So, and we try to really emulate sonically, musically, note for note. We get closer than the band will get because we have to. They don't have, Roger Waters or Paul McCartney goes on tour. They don't have to note for note, and just like the album, we do. We try to get it, as close as sonically as we can.
Well,
then, of course, with a big light show and stuff like you'd see in any rock concert. Yeah. And that's that it. And as far as artists, a little bit, we've had a good and bad. I don't know if I must go into that, but we've had one band, say, don't do it. Cease and desist, pay us, because it's a royalties thing. There's not nearly the royalties that there used to be with physical sales, and streaming doesn't pay as much. So I guess they're used to making a certain amount of money. So, but I don't know how much money you need, because I'm not going to name names, but they're extremely successful. It's like, really? So, and another one, and I will say them because they were very complimentary, was Pearl Jam. And it was a guy that works for them, and he played it for their producer and another guy in the band. I've forgotten who though. And they thought it was them. He said, what show was this tape from?
Whoa.
No, it's a group called the Black Jacket Symphony. So that was a nice little compliment.
Of all the projects you've worked on for Black Jacket, what's been the most challenging one you've taken on?
People ask me that every time, and it sounds like a cop-out, and it's really not. They're all challenging in different ways. Some are more, if I really sat down and thought about it. But as I remember the first time we did a Stones album, I thought, okay, finally, this is going to be a lot, just straight ahead rock and roll. This is going to be simple. It's really difficult to be specifically sloppy. and so it was like, well, there's your challenge, no, actually they skip a bar here for no reason whatsoever, except they were just a train wreck trying to keep it together in the studio.
That's right.
But the two hardest, probably the most challenging and the most stuff would be the White Album by the Beatles, just because there's so much. It goes from, the heavy rock to vaudeville to to acoustic ballads to back to heavy rock to western country western. It runs the gamut of everything. And we did Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys once. That was tough.
Oh, I could see that
vocally, and to get all the noises, much less the music. And they had layered so much stuff on that. So that was a definite challenge.
What one seems to be your most popular one?
Well, the Queen show, because of Mark Martell and how he knocks it out of the park. And he was actually did some vocals for the movie Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's right. He mentioned that in Chattanooga. I actually reached out to his agent or his publicist to try to interview him right after. I mean, like the next day, I shot a note to his public. Never heard back, so I guess I'm not big enough for him. But I was just so blown away by his talent and knowing that he does his own Queen thing, when he's not touring with you guys.
Which is weird though, because he did not even know he could. He was a Nashville. He's Canadian. He's a Christian artist.
I remember him saying that. Yeah.
And then some people kept telling him he sounded like Freddie Mercury. He was like, really? And so finally he kind of went and listened and did a couple of things and did a video of him singing one of the songs, and it blew up with viral, just gazillions of viewers. And that's how I found him, and took him a while to work it out. But that was before the movie and everything too, because he was on tour with us. We were doing our first run with him, and he got a call from his agent or manager or whatever. So they're making a movie about Freddie Mercury. They want me to go do some vocals. So, oh, that's cool. So yeah, it's somewhere in London. It's a studio, EMI Studios. I said, is that Abbey Road Studio? Yeah, it's Abbey Road. And I was like, really? Yeah, is that cool?
Millennials.
Yeah, it's real cool, and he would send me FaceTime me from there. Is this studio number 2? Is this cool? I said, yeah, Pepper was recorded there. Just leave me alone, man. Stop.
Smart Alec.
Yeah, that's a good one. The Fleetwood Mac show is big. The Eagles do real well. Any Beatles thing we do in Zeppelin. Pink Floyd, Beatles, Zeppelin are a big three, and Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles are probably right there too. And then Queen. Those are our most popular.
Well, Zeppelin, I think it was Zeppelin 4 album you guys did was the first show I saw.
Yeah.
Like I said, almost 10 years ago in Knoxville. And I was, like I said, it was just like, wow. Being a Zeppelin fan and having, interviewed Jason Bonham, just the closest at that time I ever got to a Zeppelin member. Later, Bonham's sister. John Bonham's sister, great people. But again, that's what hooked me with you guys and made me an instant fan.
Yeah.
What are you hoping to cover that you haven't covered yet? What as far as is there something that you see and you think, if we can get this worked out, I'd really like to do, X or Y or Z.
Yeah, we have a Rolodex of albums that we want to get to that we had originally that when I sat down to do this. I mean, I wrote down just a list of records. We haven't gotten to all of them yet. I like to do Band on the Run. We do a lot. We've done several Beatle albums, but I'd like to do a McCartney one soon. We've almost done that a couple of times, but haven't pulled the trigger on it yet. But I would like to do he's the most successful songwriter in the history of the planet, so that would make a whole lot of sense to do that. What else? There's a bunch. We have this game that we always play, and I think I've asked it on the Black Jacket Facebook page. Name an album you'd want to see, but you have a feeling you might be the only person in the audience. Because we have a lot of that. It's a fun thing to do on the bus, on the tour bus and stuff. What album do you love, but you don't think would sell that much? But it doesn't matter. You love it. You do it. So and that always causes lots of arguing, and pontificating. I love to do Something Anything by Todd Rundgren. It's my daughter. It's the only thing that rings is her. So,
I can relate.
Yeah. But Something Anything by Todd Rundgren. I'm a big Todd Rundgren fan. But
fun guy to talk to.
What's that?
I said he's a fun guy to talk to.
I actually interviewed him
Did
when
you
I was
really?
in that short time I was in radio. Yeah.
Wow.
Very smart guy. Really, I'm a huge fan. Strange guy, but in a good way.
Well, his wife said she even thinks he's autistic. I interviewed her before I interviewed him.
Right. Yeah.
She used to be with the Tubes and running some restaurant over there in Hawaii and all that now. And
Yeah.
but he was a fun guy to talk to. Interesting show, and he was only doing the Bijou at the time too. So
Right.
that was surprising. I figured he would do at least the Tennessee, if not
Yeah,
bigger.
and he doesn't play the hits, and he kind of does his own thing because
Yep.
but I still do a radio show now. It's
Oh, I
on
didn't
Sunday
know that.
mornings and Sunday evenings, and it's it's called Rock and Roll You with Jay Willoughby, and it's just a way for me to get rid of, because part of this is I'm kind of I'm obsessed historian, rock and roll music historian. So it's a way for me to get just trivia out. And I did a show on Todd, and one of the things he said was, because they always ask him why he's so eclectic with his shows. He doesn't go out and play the hits. He just does what he wants. And he made a really good living as a producer.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't really need his artistic arc. He didn't need to go out and do it. He can kind of do what he wants because he can always go produce. So he does so well with that he does something, anything, which is a pop masterpiece, but he never goes back to that. Everything else he does is kind of off the wall, electronic sound and all that, and just weird stuff because he doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, he was also touring with Ringo Starr.
Yes,
so that was a pretty sweet gig.
And Ringo at least made him play a couple of his hits.
And you don't say no to Ringo.
And exactly. Yeah.
I'm kind of in an interesting situation. I mean, I met Ringo one time because I just interviewed Steve Lukather from Toto, which I think Toto music would be something that BJS could do. I
love Toto. I love Toto. But personally, I probably prefer Toto to Journey, which we're doing right now, doing the Journey show. That's a personal taste thing. They were such a great band. I mean, the studio.
Well, and they toured together and are touring together again. So that was a heck of a show. So, but and then so that's my only way I ever got to meet Ringo, and it's very short, and I had to keep my distance, all that kind of stuff. Don't look in his eyes, not quite that bad, but Right. Then, I'm very good friends with his ex-fiance, Nancy Andrews, and she's there in Nashville. That'd be something kind of cool. I don't know if she'd ever do it, but when you guys play Nashville or somewhere nearby, it'd be kind of cool to have her introduce you. That might be kind of fun.
She's from Alabama, I believe.
New York or New Jersey, actually, but she lives in the Nashville area, and she's still tight with Chris O'Dell, that George Harrison wrote that, and God, there's someone Patty Boyd and those people, all those girls kind of keep a tight.
I think there's an Alabama tie. If you talk to her again, ask her. I think there's some Alabama tie with her.
You're right. And it may have been that she lived there for a while, but maybe. I know she was discovered in New York when she was living with her grandmother. Arthur Godfrey discovered her.
Oh, really?
And that was, a couple guys before she met Ringo. And then she was with Ringo, I think, like 8 years or something like that.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah. Fun lady, funny lady, brilliant lady. She's like a sister to me, and we have a lot of fun when we get together for dinner. All the gossip I get to hear and cannot repeat, but but yeah, I'd love to get you guys introduced. I think you could have some fun with that. But
I'd love to meet Nancy.
What's on your agenda BJS wise for 2024 and 2025?
We kind of have it mapped out, but we like to wait to do it because things change. Believe me, like I just mentioned, Band on the Run, we were pulling the trigger on Band on the Run twice and then went a different way.
Wow.
So that can always happen. So there's one reason I don't want to announce something and then we not do it. But I think we do have, the next year and a half kind of spec'd out, and we will announce those at the shows. And also another reason we do is at the show, we'll announce what we're coming back with, and before it actually goes on sale to the public. So
I think this last time you announced Purple Rain, didn't you? For here, I have. That's of your more recent shows. That's probably the only one I haven't seen since I started following you guys. Someone else covered AC/DC for me. I wasn't at that show, but like I said, I've covered 12, 14 of them, and the Journey one was 3 or 4 times. I mean, so
Yeah.
that do you find that you have fans that are doing that? They come and see the same show 2, 3, 4,
I think
5 times?
so. I have people come all the time saying, I wasn't a huge fan of this band, but I've enjoyed everything y'all have done, so I gave it a shot, and boy, I enjoyed it. I've had that a lot, but I don't know if somebody's going to come up to me after a show and say, "Well, I just hated that." Not many people do that, so maybe there are, but for the most part, if you like music, the way we approach this, uh, you're gonna have a pretty good time, even if you're not a huge fan. Listen, I'm not gonna tell you who, but I'm not a huge. Being a songwriter and when I was in Nashville, it makes you kind of be myopic, I guess. You kind of have to because you're so. This makes sense. We do some bands that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, but I know other people are.
I interview people for the same reasons.
Yeah, right, right. So I'm above. It's not just because I like it.
Right,
I know
right.
and it's mainly albums that leave a mark. If that makes sense. That changed the history a little bit, or at least have a thing that Fleetwood Mac and the Eagles came out that at the same time with that whole California kind of thing, that just left a huge, and those the hugest, biggest records ever to sell.
Mhm.
So things like that we've done Nirvana, Pearl Jam, because it made the music take a turn.
Yep.
So that's what we try to look for the most part, things that kind of leave a mark on music.
Where would you like to see BJS 5 years from now?
Just doing exactly what we're doing. We're trying to grow out west right now, which is going pretty well.
Mhm.
It'd be nice we start, and I just, did a whole Eagles tour out west, and it's nice to see, how it's growing every time we go out, and how quickly it grows. If somebody sees us, because sometimes I think it's hard to explain what it is we do.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, or you can explain it, but to see it, it's like, I think people, if they come, they go, "Oh,
They get it. The light bulb
I
goes
get
on.
it. They're doing
Yeah.
an album in their entirety, and they come back with a second set of hits, and it's. I think people, like you said, they don't necessarily love the band, but they will still love the show if they like music at all.
Yeah.
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 If they're a
Well,
fan
like
of
I
rock
said,
and
I started off, I went on a fluke because I had the night open. I had the tickets given to me, and I went to, I was going to say, all right, let's see how they do Zeppelin. And it's like, whoa,
yeah,
you earned my respect immediately that night.
Thank you.
And that's, I see a lot of bands, a lot of big bands, a lot of big names. I've interviewed a lot of them. And
Right.
I mean, not that I'm all that or anything. I'm not, I'm certainly not Rolling Stone magazine, thank God, but they're, but, I know where I'm at in the overall food chain of this business. And I know I'm
Right.
way down that low, but I still have my opinion.
Sure.
I don't try to tell people what to like, but if I think they're going to like something, I like to promote it. And like I said,
Right.
I've thought highly of you guys for the last 10 years. And I think I reached out a time or two, but I have a feeling the junk mail filter might have kicked me out because of how I was doing emails then. But I wanted to reach out again, and I want to continue to plug you, Jay. And so anytime you guys have anything you want to plug, and I've got a couple ideas. I'll shoot you a note sometime. Just I
Okay.
want to make sure you're okay with it before I do it. But I'm kind of toying with the idea of even having a little section on my website that just kind of keeps your itinerary there, because I believe in what you're doing. I think it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I just want to keep plugging you guys, because you guys are worth plugging, and I thoroughly enjoy what you guys do.
Well,
and the
man, I
expertise
really appreciate
that
it.
you
And we
bring
work
to it.
hard, and it's been it's a labor of definite love. I mean, I love this stuff. I really
Yeah.
do.
Well,
So
tell
it's been
people
fun. I
how
can't
to
believe
follow.
it's been 15 years. It's coming up May.
Wow. So I caught you near the beginning. Not quite,
Yeah.
but close to it.
Yeah, and the first couple of years we weren't playing nearly as much as we are now. Obviously, we had to grow, and we're starting
Right.
off in 600 seat places, and moving up that way.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
it's
you
cool.
were pretty much just in the Southeast here, the
Yeah,
glorious South. And then now,
yeah,
when I saw your itinerary, month or so ago, I went, whoa, because I grew up in Phoenix. I went to high school there, all that. That's where I cut my teeth on rock and roll. My first concert was in Phoenix, saw Elvis Presley, and and met Colonel Parker. And that was, so when I saw you guys were heading out there, I said, I've got to plug, I got to talk to you. I want to help sell tickets out there.
We played the Middle East a couple of times too. I don't know if we're going back now again, but we've played for the troops.
I wouldn't recommend booking in Gaza.
Right. But we played for the troops in Qatar.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, a few times. So it's very rewarding. It's long, it's a tough trip.
I bet. A lot of security you have to go through too. I bet. So tell people, I know how to find you, but tell people how to follow Black Jacket Symphony and how to order tickets when they find that you guys are going to be near where they live.
The easiest way is just blackjacketsymphony.com. It's our website, or find us on Facebook. You'll see all our tickets. Ticketing is there as well. But those are the main two. That's the way to do it.
Good
Ticketmaster as well. If you're just looking straight for tickets, you can go to Ticketmaster and find tickets there too.
Very cool. Well, Jay, let's stay in touch. Drop me a line so we can do the private thing, so I don't have to go through your front, your dashboard on the side. But my email is real easy. It's Randy, RANDY at Boomerocity.com, and I'll send you a link to this interview when it posts. And I, like I said, I got a lot of friends out, a lot of viewers out in Arizona and California. So I want to just kind of push it. I want to plug to your YouTube channel. This will post on my YouTube channel as well as, other platforms that I'm on. So again, I want to plug you. I want to try to get you guys to bigger venues. So
thank you,
especially out west.
Yeah.
All right, Jay. Well, I'll catch you next time you're in my neck of the woods, either Chattanooga
anytime.
or Knoxville.
Just let me know. I'd love to talk to you at any time at all.
All right, maybe we can get dinner together or something. So,
Sounds good.
Man, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you. Take care. Bye-bye.